Hello everyone and welcome back to Gamma Box. This is another episode in our public sector teams and contact center series. Today we're going to be talking about AI and crucially, are the public sector ready for it? Today I'm joined by
Robert Jones,
Tom Hunter,
and Dan Lloyd.
Thanks for joining me, guys. So, guys, it seems a little bit of a trivial one to call out first, but for the one person out there who doesn't know, can somebody tell me what AI is?
artificial intelligence.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. And in layman's terms, what is artificial intelligence and I guess why should we care?
AI and what it does in the contact center, in a nutshell, it's all about efficiency. So what does that look like for a contact center? And where would AI appear? For managers, it could be about improving time spent listening to calls. For organizations, it could be about reporting, uncovering insights. And for agents, about accessing information, templates and onboarding things quick and summarizing, or maybe the next responses. So yeah, in a nutshell, artificial intelligence in the contact center is about efficiency, but it means different things for different people.
So if I have a contact center in a public sector organization, why should I consider adopting AI?
it's the service improvements that it can deliver to you as an organization. And it's not just you, but it's also your agents and your end users, your customers, how it can help them obtain information from you quickly and swiftly if it's easy access information, or it could be how the agents are fed information to pass on to your customer.
Yeah, and that's going to have a real big impact on the satisfaction, both from the agent and the customer side. But for the management, it helps you drive making decisions quicker. But ultimately, what we said a lot about a lot of these podcasts is about cost savings. They can really drive down some of the outgoing costs.
Well, it can halve the time to deal with a transaction, can't it? Because if all the information's at your fingertips, it means that you can process that call really quickly. And it means that the customer ultimately has had fantastic service from you and has gone away happy.
Yeah, and there are organizations out there that do a call through AI. They will do the end-to-end process. So you don't even need an agent involved in that point. But that is in the future for a lot of organizations, typically in this public sector as well.
But AI can also help with validation checks. So when a call comes into the contact center, before it even hits an agent, you can be taking the caller through validation checks to validate who they are and doing key checks on making sure you've got the right person by double checking them against the CRM.
I'm a public sector organization, and from hearing that, I'm sold. Get me the AI. Is it as simple as just hitting the button and I have an AI now, or are there any challenges that I might face when I'm just getting started in that journey?
So there are a lot of organizations out there in the public sector and the private sector which have heard the name AI, they've seen it on the news, and will say to their procurement team, go and get me AI. I guarantee you it will fail. And not only will it fail, you're going to get poor experience from the customer, and people just turn off from it and even will shut it down and they'll go, oh, we tried it didn't work. The thing is, it's very overwhelming when you look at what AI is available and what it can do. So you've got to know where to start. And then on top of that, because you're going to access your data, you're going to get your house in order. Like for myself, I don't want to. Someone's bought AI and starts accessing my banking information, and I start self-serving on Monzo. Because it could be doing anything now. It hasn't got the parameters to stop it doing anything daft in that respect. So you've got to get your house in order to make sure it accesses the right information. And remember, if you put bad information into AI, you're just going to get bad out. So again, it's getting that right. And then you have other businesses which go gung-ho and just rush in, and that can really lead to poor execution. So making sure you take the time to plan, organize, and implement it properly, you will reap the benefits from.
So if AI is something that is fairly complex in its nature to deliver, is there a safe way of doing it? Could we do it in stages where we slowly build up our adoption? We don't have to jump into the deep end straight away.
100%, yeah. And this is the approach we take at Cirrus. So yes, we have AI that will work across your voice, your digital channels, help you with your workforce management, help you with your analytics, your quality assurance. But you've got to build. If you wanted to talk to your customers or your citizens, which is the front facing, you've got to make sure you start on the right parameters. In the same way you build a house, you've got to build the foundations, get it right, and build from the ground up. So we take a 3-phase approach within Cirrus when you implement an AI. First, the AI is going to talk to your agents, so agent assist. This is the foundation. So in this scenario, as your agent is talking to a customer on the phone or dealing with an email or dealing with an SMS, it'll listen to that conversation, read that conversation, and make recommendations on what the next action is. That might be a knowledge article which will help the agent fix that problem, or it'll be the next response to put into that text message. But what you're going to get there is that the agent can then score what the AI is doing. So you're validating the information you've loaded into it. And when it's wrong, which no doubt it will be, because if any organization wants to challenge me and say, yeah, my website matches my agent's processes, which matches my compliance documents, I won't believe you, because there's always going to be something different somewhere. So it just validates that information and you build your data up from there. The second phase then will be to start talking to customers, but not in a deep way where it's looking at personal information. It's about customer assist. So similar to what we talked about before, transactional information that may be available on the website, but the customer hasn't gone down that route. They've sent a text message in. So you can go and collect information. This is my bin delivery date. This is my council tax band. This is the phone number for adult healthcare, whatever that may be, providing information. That start again, builds up the knowledge. It's still recorded. It can still be checked and make sure the right service is being provided. But also, it's not going to cause a huge amount of danger in that respect. Then the final stage then is when you can really start to build. So this is AI self-service. This is when somebody can call you as an organization or start a web chat conversation and get a full end-to-end conversation going with an output. So that might be that they contact you via web chat to set up a direct debit for your council tax. They're going to need personal information about where you live. They're going to need personal information on your bank accounts. There's going to be compliance around your direct debit guarantee. But the AI tool, because it's had the training, the knowledge, we've tested and tried everything, it can go right through that process and deliver the end result.
I mean, just to take it back to a point raised just before there, the data validation, that's so important, right? And it's not only important just for the validity of answers, but it's also make sure that the responses being put forward match you as an organization, because, public sector organizations, they're not the same. A housing association in the northwest of England isn't going to operate in the same way as a local authority in Greater London. How you interact with your citizens and your customers, it's totally different. So making sure that the responses are not only accurate and factual, but also in the way that you want to interact, that's going to be critical, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's important that every operation, every organization, every regional differences, the AI is able to adapt to that. And that's why agent assist being the first phase is really vital, because the AI using machine learning is going to understand how agents talk to the citizens, the residents, but then and see what scores they get back from CSAT, see what works well, what doesn't work so well. But then the agent's also scoring the AI as well. So whenever it's been makes a recommendation on what should be said, we're getting validation from the agents who's bought in. So it's almost been trained by your agents through that first phase.
And this sounds great, but if you called me a skeptic, and I want to hear a bit more about it, do we have any sort of success stories where we've seen what AI could actually do when it's implemented in the right and controlled way?
Yeah, so just by implementing Agent Assist, there's a lot of benefits that comes out of that, because the agent becomes more confident. So for example, onboarding a new agent typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. If you can put AI in that scenario, advising the agent what to do or providing knowledge-based answers quicker, that can be reduced by half to 2 to 3 weeks. And naturally, we see the first call resolution improving from sort of 70-75% up to the high 80s to 90. So just because they've got the right information to them quicker. And that's also what our citizens are looking for. Real positive benefits there.
So that in itself, it's really impressive. But one of the things, probably to Tom and Robert, one of the things that we see when public sector organizations go to procurement to change a solution, that those stakeholders, which are the agents, they have quite a sizable voice when it comes to these platforms and making sure that, what they use for working every day is going to work for them, right? Now, when you bring in the topic of AI, it can be somewhat sensitive in nature. If I'm an agent, should I be concerned about AI, particularly maybe about my job role and what that means?
No.
You just say no as well.
I think he was very adamant it was a no then.
Yeah.
if anything, it's going to improve your role. It's going to improve the tasks that you're going to be working on, and it can even lead to additional agents being needed, because AI will do all the simple transactional stuff that can be done online or via web chat or via email and voice. And it then leaves the agents be able to deal with escalations, which are more complex and more interesting and take time.
What we're also looking at the moment is what roles are going to be like in the contact center. So over the evolution of time, there's always been a machine or something that's come along which is taken away a job role, but always something else has come up in place of it. And if you think back for public sector, where there was a lot of, you almost might have known who works at the council, so you can go and talk to them personally about situations. If you take away the transactional issues, frees agents time where they can really spend to get to know who Rob Jones is and help them out. That gives you a lot of job satisfaction, and it also gives a lot more great customer service. You can almost forget about average handling time now, because I don't care how long it takes you, Rob, to talk to the person on the phone. Just provide them with every bit of service they need and make sure they're getting the outcome they desire.
With the point you made about being skeptic, and to bounce off of you guys as well, I guess it's more of a case of the way that you view it. So exactly like you guys have said there, if you view it in a positive way, for example, like it is taking away the menial tasks that you don't need to do, you're ultimately going to be dealing with, like you say, the more complex escalations and handling the more difficult calls, in turn increasing your skill set. No one on a job application is going to be saying, oh, can you send this bit of information through that you've just found on the company website? They want to see continued development. And I guess, yeah, like I say, it's more of a case of you can be skeptical, but use it in anger, and obviously watch the benefits of it come as you progress.
No, that's really interesting to hear. And just sort of going back to a point that we touched on before in terms of the challenges and the consideration around whether you're ready for AI. It's not something we know now that you can just turn on and expect to get, fantastic results. It takes a good deal of careful planning. What are some of the considerations that we might need to build into if we are going to explore AI within a contact center environment?
I think you need to, as Dan was saying earlier, you need to make sure your knowledge base, your website information is all up to date and correct. And then when you switch on AI, it's got one source of information as opposed to multiple sources, which may confuse it and then lead to it giving out incorrect information. Then you need to, the next step is to use it in real time. So the agents are then able to score the information that it's giving them. And then the last one is to then give it to the customers to use on the simple transactional information, which again is going to build up its knowledge base on.
Yeah, I think one point before that is actually preparing the agents themselves to be ready to have this new technology adopted within the organization as well. Exactly like you say, Jack, to make sure that the skeptical ones understand why it's being brought in and what it's being brought in for, and then will likely, hopefully, adopt it a little bit better.
I think some of the key consideration points I think the organization needs to go through is, it's quite detailed, but having a strategic plan and a policy and framework in place to say, how are we going to adopt AI into the public sector? How are we going to make it fits inside with our governance and our public service goals? So really setting out where you're going to use it and how you're going to use it. Obviously, with a lot of sensitive information there's a lot of ethical and responsibility of the AI use. So again, it's making sure that you give it access to the right information. You don't have, you sort of prevent some of the misuse. You look at how you can mitigate bias and uphold transparency and accountability when you're using AI. And then sort of the data governance of that as well. So making sure you invest in the right data set, making sure it's got the right security around that and it's accessible when it needs to be. And then finally, more importantly, is looking at collaborating with other people, making sure that there's clear stakeholders that are going to help design, working with the right partners to help you through these parts. And when your AI is ready to go, make sure you'll get the most out of it.
And, some of the things that we touched on there about, setting up AI, making sure that it's giving the accurate and proper responses, that doesn't end, right? Once we go to, day one launch of the full AI platform, we need to be putting in both, time as well as, some cost measures just to make sure that we are evaluating the score it's giving and making sure that that's properly accurate, right? We can't just let it go. And AI is our friend now, and he's just someone that we work with.
I think every technology is like that, though, isn't it? You can't just there's constantly updates, there's constantly bug fixes. You can't just leave something, especially as powerful as AI, to just run riot and potentially throw out some misinformation. It's got to be continuously monitored.
But this is where you start to create roles that don't exist anymore. We talked around the roles might change. Some of your best agents in the contact center may not take calls anymore. They may just monitor how AI is working and making sure the best result. So rather than servicing one customer, one call, one agent, they're working with AI is then talking to 1,000 calls simultaneously. That could be something that's different in there. And also when you talk about AI doing self-service for customers, AI is also doing the quality monitoring. It's like marketing's own homework. So you're going to need somebody to look at that as well. And then probably the final point on that is that if anyone's ever worked in a business where their processes and policies and ways of working stays the same for 20 years, you've got a big mistake. There's constant changing throughout the life cycle of a contact center. So making sure that AI is trained in the right way. So you kind of go back to that phase one. All right, there's a new policy. Let's not let AI deal with it straight away. Let's go back to agent assist. Let's go back to customer assist, and then let's look at self-service. So it's constantly evolving.
So one last question from me. When we look at AI within the contact center space, do we think it's an evolution or a revolution? I'm leaning slightly towards evolution. I firmly believe that, bad inputs lead to bad outputs. So, you need to have a strong foundation of, your databases, making sure that an AI isn't going to transform a contact center that has quite poor customer service scores. It's not going to work its magic and fix everything. I think it needs to be built on, good foundations to make sure that things can improve. But again, they need to be used in the right way.
Yeah, I agree. Evolution for sure. It ultimately is another arrow to the quiver at the end of the day. It's a tool to be used to enhance an experience of both the agents and the end customers. It's not something that's going to completely take over all the jobs that a contact center currently does. If it can make life easier, great. But it is in no way going to take away from that sort of customer experience and face-to-face or voice-to-voice customer experience, however way you want to do it.
All right. Anyone else? Sorry.
And I think we've touched on it already, but I think governance of the data is really key, and that you have a robust process in place to keep it current and valid.
Any closing thoughts, Dan, on evolution versus revolution of AI in the contact center space?
I think when you talk around public sector specifically, citizens have very high expectations. As I said before, they're not buying a service, they're expecting a service. So AI is going to certainly assist both the agent and the customer, but they always need to be somebody there at the end of the day they speak to. So it won't, like I say, it's not going to be a revolution, it's going to be an evolution, and we'll see where that goes into the future.
And I'm sure that we're going to see more, hopefully success stories as we see this growing, as it's implemented into the UK public sector. But with that draws to a close our series on Teams Contact Center. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me, and thank you to you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you soon.